Namaste children. Hope you are all ready for the science class. In the previous class we saw about the nutrition in amoeba as well as the nutrition in human beings. We started with the ingestion of food. Today we will see about the digestion in human beings. As I told you earlier, the human digestive system is a very complete one. It has many organs and there are many digestive juices also which take part in the process of digestion. In the mouth, when the food is chewed by the teeth, the tongue also helps in mixing the food with the saliva. The saliva is secreted by the salivary glands. The saliva has the capacity to break down the starch in the food into sugar, and also it softens the food. Now the mixture of food and saliva is called as the bolus. Behind the tongue there is a flap like structure called as the epiglottis. This flap directs the food into the esophagus. This is the esophagus. It directs the food into the esophagus as well as prevents the food from entering into the windpipe. Now, when the food enters into the esophagus, you should understand that this esophagus is nothing but the food pipe, and it is made up of muscles. It is a muscular pipe. Here it is by rhythmic contraction of the muscles. The muscles contract and the food is pushed further. This movement is called as the peristaltic movement. From the esophagus, the food travels through the esophagus and enters into the stomach. In the stomach, there are hydrochloric acid and the mucus which act upon the food. And this hydrochloric acid, it kills the bacteria in the food and also creates a medium for the food to be digested further. The protein is broken down into simpler substances. Now, from the stomach, the food enters into the small intestine. This is the small intestine. The small intestine is a highly coiled structure which is more than 5 meters in length. Okay. When the food is received by the small intestine, the liver, this is the liver, a reddish brown color gland which is the largest gland in our human body. This liver secretes a digestive juice called as bile, and it is stored in the gallbladder. This is the gallbladder, children. It is stored here and it is let into the food for getting digested. Same way, the pancreas which secrete the pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice is also poured onto the food so that the digestion takes place further. Now, telling about the liver, I told you about the bile. The bile has the capacity to break down the fats into fatty acids. Now, if you ask your elders at home, they might tell you about disease called as jaundice. You all are vaccinated against it by hepatitis B injection which you were administered during your childhood. Ask your elders, they will tell you that the jaundice is a disease during which the patient will be advised to take non-oily substances as well as non-fatty substances. It is because the jaundice affects the liver and therefore the secretion of bile is also affected. So, the person will not be able to digest the fats. That is the reason why they are told not to have oily foodstuff. Now, the pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice has the capacity to break down the carbohydrates, proteins as well as the fats. Now, the partially digested food gets into the lower parts of the small intestine where it is acted upon with the intestinal juices. Now, here in this place, the process of absorption also takes place. there are small finger-like structures called as the villi in the small intestine, which absorbs the nutrients in the food, meaning to say that almost the whole process of digestion, almost it is over in the small intestine itself. The villi has blood vessels, the small finger-like projections in the small intestine. They will have blood vessels which take the nutrients from the food to the other parts of the body. This is what is absorption is. The blood vessels in the villi carry the nutrients which get transported to all the organs of the body to build complex substances. In the cells of our body, what happens? With the help of oxygen, the glucose, the nutrient that was transported to it, is converted into carbon dioxide and water, and thus energy is released. Now, in the large intestine, after the absorption in the small intestine, the undigested food enters into the large intestine. This large intestine is comparatively wider than the small intestine, and in this large intestine, the water and some salts get absorbed. Now, finally, the waste material which has to be thrown out of the body gets stored in the rectum, and finally it is thrown out through the anus. This is how digestion in human beings take place.